Solar PV Cast by Shift, a podcast exploring solar energy and the role it plays in improving our lives and our planet. Here's your host, Chris Palliser.
Hey, yes, welcome to the Solar PV Cast. It is Chris here once again. This episode is going to be kind of a person-focused episode, the people of Shift. And joining me on this episode of the podcast to talk about what he does, who he is Shane Foston, Residential Project Manager. Welcome to the show, Shane.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris.
What do you do? What's the background? What do you do at Shift? Describe the role, and then also talk a bit about how you got here.
Well, as a project manager, I oversee the safe execution and installation of residential grid-tied projects. It's basically projects that are tied to the BC hydro grid and part of the net metering. Also, a big part of is battery storage. So systems such as the Tesla Powerwall, the Enphase IQ battery storage, Solar Edge storage. We're seeing a lot of interest in the backup power these days with part of the renewable energy. So that's in essence what I do.
So grid tied, you said, here on the island and Vancouver?
Yes.
Okay, big job. A lot of people to keep track of.
We have a lot of projects.
Yeah.
A lot of different clientele, different regions. So every project is unique. We have to go and meet the client, find out what their renewable energy needs are or desires, and then basically design and build a system to their expectations.
Let's talk about Shane for a little moment. How did you find yourself here at Shift? What's your background?
Well, my background, I've been a electrician. Certified electrician now since 1995, been in the trade since 1990. I moved over to Vancouver Island in 1990, started my apprenticeship. I was originally from the mainland, got into the residential end of things, mainly new construction, some renovation, some commercial work, but it was a good place to start off my apprenticeship. Great foundation, learning basic circuitry, just all about household electrical systems, services, these kind of things, troubleshooting, design. So after that,
solar. I was going to say, when did you decide going from electrical that you were going to head into solar?
Well, that's a really good question. Back in around 2019, so I was originally mainly in oil and gas as a site superintendent for a larger company in northern Alberta. Work had kind of died down a little bit up there, and plus I was not looking to be a road warrior anymore. I just got tired of being on the road for 10 years and looking for something more local. Looking at the opportunities that were available, I wanted to specialize in something. I used to have a lot of guys walk into my office saying, how do I set myself up from the rest? I'm a construction electrician. I'm doing the same thing over and over. And the simple answer was you need to specialize. You need to get into an area of the electrical field that you believe in, you're strong with, and that is going to support you and your ambitions. So, both financially and educationally. So, solar is. I could see the way that things were going politically. A lot of our politicians were wanting to push into the renewable part of it, I just saw a lot of room for opportunity with solar, and we're basically in the infancy of it. So there was a lot of learning. Trying to find experienced solar people these days, almost impossible. There's just not that many of them.
Because it's so new.
It is so new. Yeah,
right.
It is so new. So we're just trying to find these solar installers or electricians that know about it. It's really tough to do it. So we have to take these people on and train them.
Right.
Yeah.
And solar yourself, I guess part of work for all of us is trying to find that thing where we feel like we're making a bit of a difference. Do you feel that way with solar?
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's no question that we're making a difference. So people get into solar for many different reasons, whether it's for the environmental impact, whether it's they want to reduce their hydro consumption. Maybe they got a hate on for the utility, which I don't really understand that one. We got a fantastic utility here in BC, which is already generating clean, renewable power with hydro. So, one of the first things that I actually did when I started researching this is I built myself a little calculator to see what the return on investment would be for, say, a system. So I looked at my hydro bills, kind of got some information off the internet to, kind of rough size the system. I didn't really know how to design at that point. And I built this calculator, and was kind of like looking at it with a question over my head going, really, is it this good of a return? I mean,
Right.
like we're talking, these days, if somebody gets 5-6% on a return on their investment, they're doing all right. And this was something I came up with a result in my own place, or 9%. And I thought, hey, that's smart money. So
Thinking about, I mean, we're just going to touch on this later. Might as well do it now. The solar industry, since you got into it 2019, so coming up 4 years now, how have you seen it change? Have you seen that growth that you speak to?
yes, I have seen that. So one thing going back about 3 years ago, yeah, you get a little bit of interest in solar. I mean, I was working for a different company at the time, and yeah, we'd be, systems, but you're putting in 25, 30 systems a year. But since then, it's grown quite a bit. I mean, one of the things that's really helped out with the growth is the federal government and the Canada Greener Home Grant and the Canada Greener Home Loan. I mean, those were great programs. Like a year and a half ago when the Canada Greener Home Grant came out, it was a fantastic program. It was really the first form of any rebate that we could see. And then since then, the Canada Greener Home Loan, it's just a fantastic vehicle for getting your house upgraded with some latest technology, whether it's a new furnace or whether it's a renewable energy system or battery storage system. When we're in an inflationary environment like we're going through, it's pretty smart money to go for that loan. So
there's no doubt that's contributed to the massive growth. Let's talk about the people, because you were the hands-on guy. You said the road warrior. I like that term. But now you are behind the scenes. Now you're overseeing people in the field, solar installers, journeyman electrician, apprentice electrician. You're essentially a people manager. What's it like to be a people manager when it comes to solar installs and lining up all those projects with this growth?
Well, it's actually kind of exciting, right? I mean, first of all, the team that we have here at Shift is amazing. Right from our junior installers all the way up through our sales team, our engineering and design team. Fantastic HR. We have a absolutely fantastic support team at Shift, and that's what it comes down to is teamwork.
Now, talking about the people in the field that you are overseeing, what makes a good, for somebody listening right now, maybe they're looking at a career in solar, what makes a good solar installer, journeyman electrician in the solar specialty?
Well, it's great if you can bring some relative experience, especially as I mentioned before, it's tough to find somebody that's got some previous solar experience because it's so new.
Right.
But, like say for a journey person electrician, if we had somebody that, knows how to do a service upgrade, because a lot of times we'll have to do that so that the system can support the system that we design. It's nice to have those kind of tools. However, we will teach, and one thing that we look for when we're vetting and recruiting, potential applicants is attitude. We're looking at attitude first and foremost. We can train talent. It's tougher to work with attitude. So if somebody's coming to us, they're really interested in getting into this field of work, bring your safety hat with you. That's the first thing I ask as part of our interviews is it's my most it's the most important thing that we deal with every day. Bring your safety hat, but bring an open mind. Maybe it's something you've done before, but we may do something a little different. So we want to make sure that you kind of adapt to the way we doing things. We think we have a very successful recipe. However, we also love innovative ideas, so bring those forward as well. But yeah, just go with the flow. Listen, to the people around you. Remember that you have a huge support network here at Shift, and we are here to support you. And if you run into an issue, it's just a phone call away, or just lean next to your buddy. But yeah, that's how we kind of operate around here.
We've kind of talked about the growth of solar that you've seen since you joined solar as a specialty. We've kind of touched on the people. What about the clients? And if, say there's a client listening, residential, they got us coming in a couple months and they're listening right now. What's something that you could say to them, or what could a client do or a client know that would make your job of trying to manage the teams out in the field a little easier?
That's a really good question, because there's actually quite a few things. So I'll dip into one of the things, battery storage. knowing a little bit about the loads that you want to be able to back up or to run goes a long way in knowing the expectations. One of the things with dealing with battery storage is sometimes there's some unrealistic expectations. So many of the comparisons are with the generator, but we're two different entities. So generator, hey, you've got lots of power there as long as you've got fuel. Okay, but then you've got to put up with the issues, the negatives. Yeah, you've got maintenance that needs to be done. You've got noise that needs to be done. What happens if you run out of fuel? Where battery storage, a little bit different. You do not have that infinite resource. If it's sized properly, you're going to have plenty, but you need to know the loads that you can pass on to your sales consultant that we can get into the design. That's one of the biggest things. So a little bit of pre-education on what the battery storage can do. Other than that, on the solar end of things, patience with the system is one thing that's really nice. Our systems, looking at them, they look fantastic. Okay. And then when you think about it, there's really not much to do with them in terms of maintenance. But monitor your app when you first get your system. Look at the performance. Look at the performance at different times of year so you can kind of get a gauge of where things are, how things look on a cloudy day, how things look if it does snow does fall on the panel, how things look when we got that sun high in the sky in June compared to, say, if it's a bright sunny day lower in the sky in December. So learn your system and monitor it. We're monitoring it for you. So another thing with the way we connect the equipment, sometimes we cannot connect via an Ethernet cable. Sometimes we have to go with a Wi-Fi. Make sure your Wi-Fi is communicating that you're getting those updates, because if you can see your app, it means that we can see it. You've had Alan at Shift Technical on a couple of times. Yeah, that's what Alan wants to see. So if there's something that we see with the system, we can notify you if there's an issue with it. So, some of the things that have come up in the past that, why is there a module out? A module or a solar panel? In the industry, we call them solar modules. But why is it out? Maybe there's a leaf, or maybe it's a little bit dirtier. So you can gauge these things yourself and kind of help yourself a little bit. But other than that, just understand that the systems that we install, that the way the production works, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's going to be over time.
Right.
But just understand that this is the nice thing about dealing with clients that I really like is just the smiles on their faces when we're wrapping up the job and just saying, you're now harvesting sun out of the sky and using it. It's all going towards your own production right now and very soon into your net metering system. So, really, and people are so thrilled about this. They're so thrilled that, they're able to do that, right?
Totally. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I completely agree. Education, right? You get the people that are like, oh, I've got one Tesla Powerwall. How come I can't run my house for a week? It's all about that education, which is why I love that we got the podcast here at Shift, and education is really our focus when it comes to marketing. Just at the end of what you said there kind of reminded me, what are the highlights from a day, from a week? Maybe Shane puts his feet up on a Friday, he looks back at the week and has a highlight. Is it generally something to do, maybe you had a guy do his first Tesla Powerwall install, or what kind of highlights jump to your mind?
The biggest highlight I like is the positive feedback that we receive from our clientele. When we get a client that wants to share about their positive experience, with our field team out there, we put a lot into our customer service here at Shift. And we want that to be reflected right through the project. Everyone go home nice and safe. That means that we've done our job properly. That is, one of my, my milestones I like to reach every week. We start off, we're just trying to win every day. And that's by going out and doing those installations safely, professionally, and letting the guys know that we have a system that's going to be on that roof for 25 years, and we got our customers back for 25 years. That's something that I feel really good about.
That's cool.
I mean, if you look at the industry, say the construction industry, I don't know if there's any place where a warranty is even comparable.
Yeah. 25 years, you don't got to worry about it.
You do not got to worry about it. Yeah. The only thing that we ask you to do on yourselves is keep your panels clean,
Yeah.
To keep the
The
production
rain
up.
does that mostly.
Check in the app once in a
Yeah,
while and
yeah.
make sure your communications are working so that we
Yeah.
can see the system. Plus, the other thing is with the communications, from time to time, the manufacturers will do firmware updates on the equipment. So we have to ensure that we have communications. Companies like Tesla, it's actually written into their terms and conditions that you have to maintain internet communications to maintain their warranty.
Got it. Oh, interesting. What about projects? Quickly, any memorable projects? You show up to a house and check in on the guys and think, wow, that is a cool looking project. Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few. I mean, with our projects, there's so many on the residential grid side. I think last year we were north of 400 projects, so that's quite a bit of business. There's so many.
Wow,
our designers do such a great job of placing the panels and stuff. I mean, there's so many memorable projects. It's more just getting out with the guys and talking with them. I love getting out to the field, even though sometimes I don't get out enough. Just kind of interacting with them, finding out their challenges, what they're dealing with, their challenges and their triumphs, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the best things about working here is the teamwork.
Yeah.
It really is. But as for projects, I mean, there's so many, and I honestly can't pick out, a single one. I mean, there's so many.
We'll get you on at the end of the year, and you can tell us the 2023 highlight. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
A man who's been around the industry for a few years now, focused electrical industry for a long time. Where do you see, if we had a crystal ball, from your point of view here, residential project manager Shane Foston talking right now on the Solar PV Cast, 5 years from now, where do you see solar going?
Well, up and up and up. I think it's going to be, at some point, and this is a personal opinion, that I think it will be mandated that we have to put solar on our houses. But thinking in the bigger picture, it's probably going to be a change to the way we design houses. A lot of the challenges we have with a house and putting solar panel is the amount of roof space that we have to do it. And in BC, we get these beautifully architecturally designed houses, but the roof maybe it's a 6,000 square foot house, but we can only get 5 kilowatts of solar on the roof just because there's so many transitions. It's really tough. So I could see, Steve was talking about the previous podcast, Steve Unger, our senior engineer, about a solar ready house. Well, I think we're going to have solar ready subdivisions. So that we have south facing roofs, east, west. We just want to get everything away from the north. As Steve said, make sure everything is put on the north side of a rooftop. If there's a roof penetration for, say, an attic vent or a vent stack for plumbing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I see the big change coming.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'm really excited about is the other side of battery storage, which is the one that's going to be sitting in your driveway, and that's the EV to grid technology.
Oh,
and so us people, normal people or whatever, we can't really stretch out our budgets to get that battery storage, but we may have an EV in the driveway. Yeah. This is the one that I'm really excited about getting our hands on. We need to get some more information of the car manufacturers, how it's going to tie into the system. Seeing that we have a secondary source of power, we'll have to isolate that from the grid. So there'll be a little bit of electrical work that's going to be involved, but really, really enthused about getting our hands onto that technology. Yeah,
totally.
That's really going to drive the battery storage to the masses.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's amazing. Well, Shane, thank you so much for joining the Solar PV Cast and sharing your perspective on the industry and your role here at Shift.
I appreciate it, Chris.
The Solar PV Cast by Shift with Chris Palliser. To begin your solar journey, visit shift.ca.